All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. Have you guys covered with a pretty big slate today with not a lot of injury news for now. You know, that could always change. But yeah, Chuck, what are your initial thoughts for today's slate?
Well, about 15 minutes ago, I was looking at it like, man, this slate sucks. But then we just got news. Mike Conley's out. Cade Cunningham's out. So, Cade Cunningham out opens up Jaden Ivey a little bit. The model hasn't quite updated for Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Last time he started, we had him projected for 31 minutes. Right now, he's only projected for 24. So I guess we got to wait a few minutes and see what that looks like. But yeah, just hoping we get more news and something else opens up.
Are they so? The last slate, it was, we can start with that too. Like it was Kyle Anderson or Alexander Walker. Is it still that tonight's, specifically on DraftKings, on FanDuel, they're probably both correctly priced? Are we looking at Reed at all? Are we looking at McLaughlin at all? Or to me, I probably might just end up getting to Towns, Ant-Man, and Gobert a little bit more, just given the matchup. That might be something I try to do.
Yeah, I mean, the ownerships on all these Timberwolves guys, they're all under 10%. Kyle Anderson and Nickeil Alexander were both in the winning lineup on the previous slate 2 days ago. It's funny, there was like a 5-way chop in the 100K to first tournament on DraftKings, and both of those guys were in it. But, Cat was in it too, obviously. He dropped 62 points or whatever, and he's coming in for under 10%, still appropriately priced on DraftKings. We do like big men against Washington. And Naz Reid, I wasn't a fan of last time with his ownership, but if he's really going to come in under 5% owned, this is a much better spot to take shots on Naz Reid when maybe he does it. Maybe, it's only an 11-point spread, which is super weird because it's one of the best teams in the NBA versus, second best team in the NBA versus second worst. So I don't know. We'll see.
Hey man, my Bucks are, they just got a new head coach, so they're going to be up there again. So
30-13 firing their coach, and the Lakers are over here sitting out of the play-in with this Darvin Ham dude, man.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. It's so weird to be like excited about. I'm not excited. It was something that needed to happen. But I don't want to get off on a tangent. We kind of touched on that yesterday. For Reed, did he get into foul trouble last game? Because I see 3 and I see only 15 minutes. To me, that's a head scratcher. I'm assuming he got into early foul trouble. Tough to know for sure. I wasn't watching that game, but that would be my guess. Like against Washington, I would assume he's going to get 25 minutes, and if he does at 4.9, like that's definitely interesting.
I don't think so, but he did only have like a 6-minute rotation in the first half, which was kind of odd. And my thing is, Naz Reid's the backup center. Who cares if he fouls out? Let him run, even with 4 fouls in the first half. So
that's true.
I think that was just a poor rotation luck, and then Cat got kind of benched at the end of the last game because the coach was unhappy with him going off, which is just way to lose your locker room, dude.
Well, I don't know. Like that's why Jimmy Butler left, is that crap right there. That was like the whole Jimmy Butler's conundrum there. That's why the Timberwolves sucked for so many. Like, I don't know. I think they should have traded Cat when that whole stuff happened, and I still think that, honestly. But obviously they got Ant-Man now, so they're good to go.
Well, they ended up losing anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That's a bad look. It really is. Any other injury spots worth mentioning? We kind of a little bit of Miami. We got news that Terry Rozier is expected to play today. I'm wondering is he going to start at the point guard? I'm assuming Kyle Lowry is obviously not there anymore. Is that? I don't think we're really looking at anyone for Miami, are we?
I don't think I got any Miami exposure. Jaime Jaquez is out for them, and normally that would open up a role player. I guess I got a tiny bit of a Caleb Martin, but other than that, I think it just hurts everybody's usage, and they're priced as if Terry Rozier wasn't on the team. So they're all GPP shots today. They're all going to be low owned, so I don't mind it. But no one there is anyone like, oh, I got to make sure I get a few percent of this guy or anything. And then we just got news. So Luka and Kyrie are both questionable. And we just got an update from Underdog that Kyrie, so he sprained his thumb last game or something, and he's not going through his regular pregame warmups. So I tend to lean that he's going to be sitting out tonight. And if you need any more reason to play Luka, him and Devin Booker have kind of like a little rivalry going. And so if you want to add like 5% or something for that, I mean, he's already the top play in the model. So
yeah. That's interesting. So if Kyrie sits, are we probably just looking at a little bit of Josh Green, maybe a little bit of Exum as well?
Oh man, it's going to be so Exum at his price. I don't mind him if assuming Kyrie's out. It's just I don't know what Jason Kidd's doing. Start Jaden Hardy every time. He's 3,600. If he does end up in the starting lineup and we get that news late, which we will because Phoenix plays later, Jaden Hardy is going to be a much better value play to me than Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but it's not
Yeah.
guaranteed. And so it's like we know we have the NA value once his minutes update in the model, but we don't know for sure we have Jaden Hardy. And like his usage rate is good even when Luka's on the court. But Jason Kidd has shown, I don't know, he just doesn't want to run him big minutes like I think he should be.
And then, yeah, we just got, I don't think we just got, but we got someone kind of calling it out as well. So we got some Houston news as well that is worth going over. We saw this on their previous slate where, honestly, it was a big edge. One of the players that got on, it was ugly, was a little bit more of Dylan Brooks because of all the Houston potential, who was sitting out that game. But looking at it right now, Bullock's game time decision, Green's a game time decision, Smith's game time decision, Tate's a game time decision, Easton and Depot are still out. So going against Portland, we know that that's a matchup that we probably want to be looking at. Sengun already chalk. He's probably someone, we already naturally ended up on. Same thing with Fred VanVleet, kind of regardless. But if some of those players sit, are we looking at Thompson again? Are we looking at maybe, I feel like Brooks is probably too high priced now, but maybe Whitmore as well?
So between Thompson and Whitmore, I mean, whoever starts is going to get the advantage if one of them starts. But it's kind of like their coach has switched off who's closing. Like Fred VanVleet fouled out a couple games ago when him and Sengun were both super chalk. And like it wasn't very clear. I think that Whitmore was on the court in the fourth quarter. I'm not sure what happened in overtime. I want to say they switched off for offense and defense. But we're going to be interested in them. Their prices are both still good. This Alperen Sengun ownership, though, is insane to me. I did not expect him to come in at 50% on DraftKings. I mean, his price is definitely incorrect, especially against Portland. But this is kind of insane. It's an 8-game slate. There's 16 starting centers on the slate tonight.
That honestly makes me nervous because in my first, I did like 3 builds already and like reserved 2 other contests. I didn't end up on them at all. So we'll see. There's a couple of other center plays that I think are a little center power forward plays that I think are a little better, but I might just have to eat the chalk. It's not worth it at that point. I don't think so. That's crazy.
Well, I will say he is my highest owned center right now, but at 30%. Like I'm kind of just mixing it up at center today, so I don't know. We'll see what happens closer to lock. But I mean, he's a great play for sure, and this isn't a spot where I think we should fade just because of the ownership. I mean, he's 50% owned for a reason. But just be aware that there's a lot of good centers on the slate today. Cat, Gobert. I mean,
so I want to. I kind of teased you earlier on or before the video that there's a value play that I might be getting onto that I don't love. And so looking at Cleveland, they're going to be without Tristan Thompson. And so I think Dean Wade is actually a pretty good value play today on the slate at 3.6 on DraftKings, 10% owned, projected to get 24 minutes. I just think he's going to be playing some backup big minutes, and going against Milwaukee, they're going to need him to play some backup big minutes. Is that stupid? Is that fine? I guess. What are your thoughts on that as a deep value?
Well, first off, I have about 10% Dean Wade right now, so I am with the field. I like it. Power forward is a good position to play him at. The thing is, like, even when he even when he gets big minutes, his usage is awful, and we're kind of depending on him to hit a couple threes, grab a couple extra rebounds than normal. But yeah, Tristan Thompson, it's one of the funnier players to ever get caught taking steroids. But yeah, at 3,600, like right now, we lack a lot of value options. And so Dean Wade, to me, seems fine. I'm also getting a lot of Max Strus. I'm getting a decent amount of Okoro. And George Niang, 4K, is a little bit more than I'd like to pay, given his probable medium outcome. But basically, like every piece from Cleveland, if you want to play them, I think it's fine today.
Yeah, and honestly, with the whole Bucks stuff, you have no idea how they're going to come out and play. Like, I don't think we're going to see that many coaching changes too much, like defensively and whatnot. But you never know. Like, it's tough to expect. So maybe Milwaukee's a little bit better defensively. Maybe they're a little bit worse. But all in all, I would say the Cleveland plays that we're getting are all a little bit too cheap. So I'm perfectly fine ending up on all of them.
Is Doc Rivers coaching today? Like, I'm pretty sure he's already been with the team.
No, I think it's Joe Prunty tonight. I could be wrong though.
Okay. I don't know what it affects. I'm just curious.
I don't think it would change much for the first game, but especially against Cleveland, who kind of it's a tough matchup. And it feels like Indy, you might see a little bit different schemes and whatnot or something. But dang, look at that total, 238.5. That's pretty high for Cleveland versus Milwaukee.
It's a pretty good one. And, we talked about the role players, but I think Donovan Mitchell's in a great spot. Remember, we love guards against Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it changes a couple games down the road, but for now, Donovan Mitchell, I mean, this dude had like 15 assists, 13 assists in the last game. Like,
yeah,
they're doing so well without Garland and Evan Mobley. And then on that note, Jared Allen coming in at 17% at basically the same price as Sengun. I think that he's a pretty good pivot as well.
Yeah, I mean, he should be able to get 40 tonight. I mean, last game against Milwaukee, they blew out Milwaukee. I think that's literally part of the reason as to why. I think that was like the nail in the coffin, honestly, is why Griffin got fired ultimately. But one other situation as well, talking about a guard that we could pay up for with another guard out, DeJounte Murray for Atlanta. He feels extremely cheap. Now, obviously, for DraftKings, this is DK only. FanDuel has this game off. But man, Atlanta feels so cheap tonight going against the Warriors. I haven't looked at the spreads. 6.5 point spread, 236. So yeah, it seems like everyone for Atlanta is a little bit too cheap. Am I kind of crazy there? Like ownership doesn't really love too much. I mean, Bogdanovic's kind of chalk and Nika's a little chalk, but like Murray, I thought he would be one of the higher owned plays on the slate.
Yeah, I am about 2x the field on DeJounte Murray right now, so I'm all about it. Really good game pace against Golden State especially. And then with Bogdanovich, he's showing 37% on DraftKings projected ownership, and he's been kind of not great. I don't know. Like he went on a tear where he was putting up a 6x every game, and now in the starting lineup, he hasn't been doing it. Sadiq Bey's pretty popular too at 5,100. That's a pretty decent value play as well. And then Okongwu, I don't know. He's like closing over Capella sometimes, but his price is easy to get to. So kind of like getting to him too. And then, our boy Jalen Johnson, he's not the super value in the model that he has been the past few slates.
Yes.
And at 13%, I don't mind being around the field or slightly over on him.
Yeah, I agree there. It's definitely worth still looking at because we know he has 40 in him. So let's go ahead and move on into just the position by position stuff here. I know there's a little bit of injury news that we didn't touch on too much, but obviously we'll get into that as the video progresses. So let's start out with the guards here on DraftKings. Looking at it right now, obviously Luka is the pay up. We got SGA as a good pay up, but to me, it's kind of feels like, especially if Kyrie's out, Luka, or I'm trying to go down to Murray, and then also a little bit maybe Malcolm Brogdon just because I've been playing him a decent amount. Maybe Jaden Ivey with Cade Cunningham out now, but kind of what are your initial thoughts for today's slate guard-wise?
Guard-wise, it looks like I'm getting a lot of value at the guard position. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, John Conchar, DeJounte, and I'm paying up a little bit more at center and forward, but like Donovan Mitchell, I still get a bunch of. Luka, obviously. And so I don't know. I think we can kind of just mix it up a lot on like it's not a clear pay down at this position, pay up at the other positions today.
Yeah. Can you hear me on the slide?
I lost you.
No. Okay. Let's see here. I want to figure this out. So can you hear me now or no? 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 Okay. So, I agree with that assessment here. It doesn't, like, everyone feels to be correctly priced for the most part. I mean, Memphis maybe a little bit, but we don't exactly know. It's not a good matchup going against Miami. So, like, I don't really want to get there. Maybe Scoot Henderson goes off again at no ownership, but that's not something we want to bank on. I will say Simons feels a little bit too cheap, but he's been playing poorly. So, yeah, everything kind of seems right. Now, the other value play that I'm on that no one else is on apparently, Landry Shamet. So he's only projected to get 12 minutes. I don't love that, but I was trying to find some builds. I was at his salary, and it kind of worked. I didn't realize I was only projected for 12 minutes, though. I'll probably change that here. But going against Minnesota, game could be a blowout. Last game, 16 minutes. He has been getting around 16 or so minutes. Like, to me, this is a 5x play, maybe a 6x play. I don't love it, but I actually don't hate it.
Well, with as many guys have been like going super off recently, and I mean, just from like the past week or two, we see how many lineups are at the top with just the guys that are putting up 70 plus fantasy points, and then it really doesn't matter who else is in the lineup. that just lets you fit them. And so Landry Shamet, I mean, yeah, if he puts up that 19, 20 fantasy points, even the 16 can be pretty helpful.
Yeah.
At no ownership, it just lets you get slightly different builds than everyone else, even if you're pairing him with the other values.
Yeah, it's not something I was like trying to go out of my way to do. It just kind of naturally happened on two of my builds. Another play that I'm kind of interested in your thoughts on. So obviously Charlotte made a trade. They trade Terry Rozier. Are you getting to any LaMelo Ball at his price tag? But also, I think like one of my favorite plays is a low on Brandon Miller tonight, 6.1, 6.7, projected to get 32 minutes. Went off in the last game, but also gets a phenomenal matchup going against Detroit.
Yeah, Brandon Miller's finally looking like the top pick that he was, and yeah, I think he's great. I think Miles Bridges is great. I think LaMelo's great, and so I don't mind getting to pieces from all of these guys. And then Nick Richards a little bit as kind of like a value-y center if you want to get away from Kongwu, and
Yeah.
Cody Martin, pretty decent role play as well.
Yeah, that they all. This is a weird spot because I feel like maybe the field might be slightly too high on Bridges, specifically on FanDuel, but that might be maybe just small forward thing, a couple less games. That's probably what it is. So never mind. But yeah, everyone else feels a little bit too low owned to me. Just good matchup going against Detroit. Like it's been a match we've been wanting to target.
I will say if I'm going down with the Miles Bridges ship tonight, I have a ton of him.
On DraftKings or
on DraftKings specifically, yeah.
No, DraftKings, it makes sense. He's 7.6, multiple position eligibility. It's 17% is pretty low for a guy that's projected to get 38 minutes against Detroit. So I get that.
Yeah, I was surprised it came in that low. I thought, I mean, if Sengun is 50, why isn't Miles Bridges 30?
That was the sticker shock to me with Sengun with the ownership. I'm like, there's a lot of like good, probably too cheap plays. He's maybe a slightly too cheap, but it's a matchup. I guess if all those players from Houston sit though, it makes sense.
And we're getting LaMelo without Rozier. Like LaMelo's usage rate is already sky high.
Yes.
But I mean, if it comes up another 5% or whatever against Detroit at under 10% ownership on DraftKings, I feel like this is a spot that we should try to target before the rest of the field jumps on him next time after he puts up a, I don't know, 30-point triple double or whatever tonight.
Yeah, honestly, I like on the last leg against Minnesota, that was one of my kind of conviction plays. It's that he was way too low priced and the ownership was strange. I would argue the ownership still pretty strange with him tonight. 10% with Rozier out, 35 minutes as well. Good matchup. Yeah, I get that.
And with Rozier out, so it's actually Cody Martin that gets the biggest bump in usage. Not very much, followed by LaMelo, and Miles Bridges is in there too. And so all these guys get a boost without Terry Rozier. Maybe their prices should be a few hundred higher. And so I think they're all pretty good prices.
Did you have Gordon Hayward out with that sample just out of curiosity?
Oh, no, I did not. Let's see with Gordon Hayward out as well.
That's so like at this point in the season, that's been happening a lot where we can't get like a perfect sample. That like,
well, wait till we get to center and we talk about Marvin Bagley's usage.
Oh gosh, yeah, dude, I feel bad for him. He's one of those players who's too good for his he's too good not to have a good contract, but that's also why teams don't want him and don't want to play him as well. So that's why he's playing on these bad teams. But
right, and it actually is LaMelo that gets quite the very clearly the biggest boost with Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier off the court. So good call on that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, Cody Martin is still too cheap as well, but
yeah, Cody Martin, LaMelo, Cody Martin, Miles Bridges. So yep, main guys just play him.
I got this comment. This is funny to me. Play DeJounte while we can because he's going to be a Laker pretty soon. He's going to be a Milwaukee Buck. What are you talking about? Like, I'm just kidding.
That would be kind of insane.
Mm-hmm. I do like DeJounte as a good play. But yeah, guys, if you have any more questions, get those in the chat. We'd be happy to answer those. But without any more questions, we're going to go ahead and jump on into the forwards here. So looking at the forwards, the one play I kind of want to get your thoughts on in these power forward center eligible, so probably not the best question here, but Isaiah Stewart. So I kind of mentioned that I wasn't getting to as much Sengun as the field. I hadn't got him at all. That's because I felt like Isaiah Stewart's price was just way too low given the matchup with Charlotte 5.5, and it is recency bias. He just went off, but he has been playing much more consistently. Give him a good matchup, and I think he could go off again. What are your thoughts on Isaiah Stewart tonight? Is he someone you were getting on at all?
Before the Cade Cunningham news, no, but now it looks like getting a few percent. I might try to bump that up. He's been, like you said, he's been really consistent. We do like bigs against Charlotte still, and I mean, no one's going to play him, and so this is a spot I don't mind getting to. Jalen Duren's not pulling that much ownership. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, Isaiah Stewart's still kind of a pivot off of him, though, at a little bit cheaper of a price. I do think his ceiling is lower. Obviously, he just put that ceiling game up last time.
Yes.
But, I mean, especially if you're playing small field, like Isaiah Stewart seems like a pretty just solid play that you can just not really have to worry about him doing too poorly most of the time.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't get into foul trouble. Obviously, he had 7 blocks and steals combined, so that's not going to happen typically. But looking at the value that we have on DraftKings, obviously it's Towns, Bridges is popping up in there. Chris Middleton, low on play that we could easily get on. Bay, too cheap there. We kind of mentioned McDaniels for Minnesota. That makes sense. Giannis does feel kind of too cheap as well. More difficult matchup against Cleveland. But the other play that I was getting on this power forward center eligible that I kind of teased as to why I'm not getting on Sengun is Wemby. He feels vastly too cheap going against OKC. 29% owned as well. To me, I'm a little bit surprised by that. I actually thought he would have been in the chalk over, someone like Sengun. What are your thoughts on him?
I don't know if people are still so Victor Wembanyama. It seems like his I don't know, his minutes cap isn't quite there, right? He's been playing 28, 27 minutes, and yeah, he's just, I don't know, is he a 2 fantasy point per minute guy almost? And marquee rookie matchup going up against Chet today, and so I'm getting some Wemby. I'm not quite at the field, but I'm still getting there a bit.
Are you getting some more Chet Holmgren then, by chance, or no? Because I thought Chet went off against them last time, but I could be wrong.
I'm actually about even on them, so I'm going to be under on Wemby and over on Chet. But gotcha. In terms of like absolute exposures, I have both of them the same.
Yeah. So from there, like, I don't know, the forwards honestly does seem to be kind of straightforward. I'm a little bit surprised by the Karl-Anthony Towns ownership. Actually, let me hit a refresh here because I think this is still with the Mike Conley news and stuff in there. So I just want to see if that changed at all because that seems too low given the matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was at 9% a few minutes ago, so it is coming up a little bit. Looking at the usage difference, no one gets a boost with Mike Conley off. Karl-Anthony Towns is plus like 1.5% or something like that, and it's not significant enough for us to want to make big decisions based off of that. Yeah. But I mean, just obviously, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to be in line for more minutes. Now his ownership is showing 34% projected for the 30 minutes that he should be. And I mentioned last time I was hesitant to play him. He was still my most exposed player. But I don't know, kind of same situation today. It's against Washington. It's a cake matchup. Does he lose minutes in blowout to Jordan McLaughlin? Maybe. But Jordan McLaughlin's probably going to come in super low on 2. I know Nickeil has small forward eligibility. McLaughlin doesn't, but not a bad pivot. And then, I don't know, something about the psychology of Karl-Anthony Towns going off last game. Like, are people going to get to him more? Is he going to come in much higher than this 11%? Are people going to not get to him? Like, oh, he can't do it again. It's like, he doesn't have to do it again. If he puts up, a good score against Washington, it's fine.
Yeah, but will Karl-Anthony Towns, who is soft mentally, will he be able to put up with the fact that he nearly went for 70 and got pulled? His coach did not want him to get there. Will he be able to handle that tonight?
I mean, I don't know. How do you stick it to the coach when he benches you? Put up 50 again? I don't know. I don't know. But Ant Edwards did take a back seat last game, and his ownership is coming in still pretty low. So I like getting to him too. I mean, all these Timberwolves look great. You can find a reason to play all of them. Jaden McDaniels.
Yep. And then Jaren Jackson Jr. against Miami as well. That's a very low ownership right there for him. He just went off in the last game. I know Miami's not a matchup we want to be targeting, and I know we have a lot of safer plays as well, but that seems like a kind of risk-reward based play at a low ownership.
Yeah. Miami is a perceived tough matchup. We'll have to see what changes with Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier is not a slouch on defense or anything. But Jaren Jackson at this low ownership, I mean, if it wasn't for 6 guys putting up 70 fantasy points last time, Jaren Jackson probably would have been in the winner 2 days ago too. And at 5%, I think that we should be over the field on Jaren Jackson today.
And what about Vince Williams? I know you and Nick were kind of hyping him up, and then I went in the Discord chat and kind of pumped the brakes. That was on me. But he was a player that I'd been on earlier, and I just felt like the time to jump off. But nope, should have stayed with it. What about him tonight? 6.5. It's, low owned as well, going against Miami.
I'm not as interested as I was last time. Last time he was one of my highest owned players, and today, his ownership is super low. I'm still over the field. but it's just his usage rate has been off the charts. I mean, he kind of fills up the stat sheet, and like the stocks help a lot, obviously with
Yeah.
him. If Luke Kennard is out, he's questionable right now. I don't know that it really could raise Vince Williams' usage rate that much more.
It might a little bit though, enough to make him safer.
I mean, they don't have another ball handler, especially if Luke Kennard is out, other than what John Concher. Like they're
Yeah,
trying to make
Contra.
Zaire Williams a ball handler, but it's not working. So it's like the Vince Williams and Jaren Jackson show to me if Luke Kennard is out.
I think it might be. Oh, Aldama's still out. So you're right. It gets ugly fast there. One last thought for the forwards here. I want to get your thoughts on Jabari Smith Jr. because if we get news that a couple of those Houston players are out that are currently questionable, he's also questionable. Did that just happen? That just happened as well. So, oh man, never mind. I guess we just gotta wait for that injury report. Jeez, what do we do with Houston? Because there could be some clear value there. Game starts after a lineup block. Are we just maybe trying to leave a couple of spots open for Houston tonight?
I'm not sure. I don't. So no one on this team is like I'm already getting to a bunch of Sangoon. I'm getting Fred VanVleet,
Okay.
and there's just no one else. Even if Cam Whitmore and Amen Thompson start showing up as really good plays, it's not enough for me. Not that we have like great crazy value in the first couple games, but Nah and Kyle Anderson, it's not quite enough for me to really adjust for it. And like we have some pivots in the later games, sure, if it doesn't work out. But I don't know. I'd rather just get to the early confirmed value, I guess.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. A little bit safer. No need to risk it. Same pricing. That makes sense. Yeah, so it doesn't seem like we have any questions coming in again. If you guys have those, make sure to get those in. We'll just go ahead and pivot right into the centers here. So Sangoon, chalk. We kind of know that. Kind of feels like an easy play since he's chalk. But we also have Towns. We kind of mentioned him. We didn't really mention too much of Rudy Gobert going against Washington. So what are your kind of thoughts about him? 7.8, 8.2. I feel like this is a great matchup for him.
Yeah, is Rudy Gobert kind of like a forgotten play? Because he's gone off recently and coming in at less than 10%. Yeah, his usage rate was like at the bottom last game because Karl Anthony Towns was taking every single shot. But we like big men against Washington. I actually had more Gobert than Cat on the last slate, and it seems like a similar situation today where I'm probably going to end up with more Gobert than Cat. Like, yeah, Cat has the higher absolute ceiling, but Rudy Gobert's been great lately, and he is the direct pivot off of Sengun. So
he's been more consistent too in terms of like hitting his price tag. So it's like feels less risky there. From there, you kind of mentioned Nick Richards is too cheap. I agree, only 8% there. Maybe his role, I don't think it's going to change too much. It might actually be better with LaMelo Ball handling the basketball. Maybe gets a couple more easy buckets, at the rim. That could easily be a thing. 27 minutes going against Detroit. I do like that a decent amount. Again, kind of want to mention Isaiah Stewart. I feel like he's a good leverage play. PJ Washington's probably not someone we're looking at right now, right? Or are we with Rozier outs?
I did look at him, but I didn't get to him in my exposures today. No, I mean at his low ownership, he's a GPP play. If you wind up with a couple shares, then that's probably good.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't like. It seems pretty straightforward for the centers for the most part. Like Zach Collins was someone I maybe thought about at first, and I'm like, no. You mentioned Bagley, like he's not owned at all going against Minnesota. We know Gafford could potentially get into foul trouble. Also, Minnesota runs out two bigs.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Bagley earlier in the show just because like his usage rate has been as high as Kyle Kuzma's the first two games he's on Washington, but with Gafford back, it just ruins it. So it's a little tough. I mean, he's like a super pivot, but definitely not necessary to get to even 1% of today.
Yeah, 20 minutes for sure. I gotcha. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're not playing any Jones. He's not going to get minutes for Cleveland probably. I mean, we got him projected for 12, 13.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're starting the model by a DK value, we have Brook Lopez model darling once again. And like all these top guys, I don't think we really have to go outside of these guys. If we're going to get to some Isaiah Stewart, sure. Rudy Gobert, sure. Jaren Jackson Jr. is power forward eligible. But Brook Lopez, Nick Richards, and Jared Allen. But down to all of the, even Giannis, Cat, Chet Holmgren, Wembanyama. Like, I don't think we have to go deeper than that. Like maybe Derek Lively a little bit, but he didn't close last game, which is kind of concerning for him to.
Yeah.
I mean, he's only 5,100, but he kind of has to close. And against Phoenix, it's not necessarily guaranteed that he does. I mean, Nurkic is good, but we'll have to see there. And it's pretty interesting to see how far down Sengun is in terms of DK value.
I know I just sorted by OF index just to see kind of what he was popping up there. That's crazy how low he is for value.
His OF index score is awesome. I mean,
It is.
compared to like the other guys, but points per dollar. This is telling us he's not the best, but we do have enough. I mean, I guess we have some value at the other positions where it's not tough to fit Sengun in.
I'm looking at this, and I'm probably ending up on at least of these two power forward center eligible plays, whether that's Cat, Wemby, Bridges, and then probably still Sengun in the center spot. But I do like Stewart again. I think he's a good leverage play. I think I'm still going to end up on him. So decent spots tonight.
Yeah, I'm it might be bad, but I'm playing a ton of Miles Bridges tonight, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I think it's correct. 16% for sure is too low. Let's see here. We'll jump into some questions here. I think we got one from Courtney here coming in. Should you be playing a sub 10% guy in single entry?
Sometimes. It's not, you don't have to force in a sub 10% guy unless you're playing like completely chalky the rest of your lineup. But like in my single entry right now, I have a Jaden Ivey, and is Jalen Williams predicted for less than 10% ownership? If so, then I have two guys under 10%, but it just happened. I didn't go in and say, play guys at low ownership. It's just two of the plays I like the most. Jaden Ivey's ownership probably comes up above 10% anyway.
Yeah. So let's go on and Kuzma. We got a question here as well. So is Kuzma good tonight? I think Kuzma's fine, but also feels a little too thin. This is like, I would maybe talk you out of it, but also like there's better, safer plays for sure.
Yeah, I don't have Kuzma graded out very well tonight. The model has him okay. But with so many options on the slate tonight, it's not a spot I'm getting to. But I mean, he fits in that bucket for me where if you want to play him as a GPP play against basically anyone, it's probably okay.
Yeah. It's just like I'd rather go with Bridges. I'd rather go a little bit higher priced Towns. Like it's just Wemby as well. It's just easier as plays.
Yeah. And then what's our favorite play on FanDuel tonight? So I'm not playing FanDuel right now. Or today, but Miles Bridges is showing up at the top of value, and yeah, he's 8K over there. It's weird the ownership difference between DK and FanDuel.
It's the game, the half a game's off, or the late night game's off.
Okay. And so I don't know. I don't want to just say Miles Bridges because I didn't build FanDuel lineups today, but it seems like Miles Bridges, Chris Middleton. I mean, literally just the top of FanDuel value. I'd probably feel pretty good about a bunch of these guys.
Yeah, for sure. There. It wasn't that different when we're going through it. Like there wasn't any like, oh, this play is a better play on FanDuel. Like there wasn't that call out during the video. So I would say basically every play that we're going to talk about as good plays for DraftKings are going to be the same for FanDuel, or they have been the same. There's no big differences pricing wise, egregiously mispriced plays. Even Sengun, who's $1,100 more expensive, is still pretty chalk, is still a decent play on FanDuel. So it's basically the exact same slate. You're just taking off a game, maybe is it two, and whatever, you're taking off some games, so the ownership's gonna be a little bit higher.
And then favorite actual value on FanDuel besides Nah. Like I said, I haven't built, but just scrolling through the model, it doesn't seem like there's really any guys below 5K. I mean, Malik Beasley's at the top. He's kind of a boomer bust guy. He either hits a bunch of threes or he doesn't. But just looking at this stuff, I would assume that I would be a little bit more balanced over on FanDuel today.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much. I mean, maybe Nick Smith. That's like the only one that I could say is like decent there, but that still feels a little bit too thin.
Yeah, that's an interesting call out because he definitely is going to get a few more minutes between him and Ish Smith with Terry Rozier gone. But my problem with Nick Smith is his usage is so bad. But if no one else is going to play him, maybe it's possible that he fills in a role that no one's expecting. I mean, he's actually chalk on FanDuel, and that blows my mind.
Yeah, Is he 27? Yeah, 18 minutes. Yeah, that's a fade. Don't do that.
Yeah, that seems kind of bad. I was assuming he was going to be under 5%.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say it's weird that he's so owned on FanDuel and not so much on DraftKings when his price isn't that different. Yeah, the options that we have for DraftKings are a little bit different, but
Yeah.
that makes me kind of think Nick Smith is an okay play on DraftKings, which sounds kind of weird because he's cheaper on FanDuel. I just said don't play him, but
Yeah, I think that's fair. So let's see here. How about Alec Burks? So that's a good question as well there, Emma. So I think Alec Burks is a fine GPP play. Like, I don't mind. It depends on how many lineups you're playing. If you're playing, let's just say more than 4, I think he's a fine play for you to toss into one build, or, whatever, 5% or so. He's 16% owned though. So, maybe that might be a little bit too high. 34 on FanDuel might be a little bit too high, but the upside's there.
yeah, I agree the upside's there, but I think I'm on the other side of you on that one. I have 0% Alec Burks in my 150 DraftKings lineups, but I did deliberately bump him down. I talk about this all the time. Like, I don't want to chase guys that have to hit a bunch of threes or score a bunch of points to get there when the rest of the field is chasing. And yeah, we're a little bit scarce on value today, but I think we can find some other alternatives. Obviously, it's good that Cade Cunningham's out, but I would just rather pay a little bit more for Jaden Ivey, at least on DraftKings. On FanDuel, it's slightly different.
I will say his appeal the last few slates was the fact that we weren't getting that many good like forwards for the most part, small forwards, and the multiple position eligibility was really nice. Tonight, I don't know if we need to do that. I think we're getting enough good small forwards as well, but I don't know. I think he's a play I wouldn't talk someone off of, pretty much. Like if you like your take on him saying you don't want to be on him, I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
If Emma wants to be on him, I think that also makes perfect sense. Like
it's kind of like I'm gonna fade, and if Alec Burks puts up 30, 35, whatever, am I gonna be surprised? Not really. Just move on to tomorrow.
Well, when Isaiah Stewart also puts up 30 real life points, they will be surprised.
There you go.
Do we like Wemby or Chet with the rookie battle? I think it's fun. It's fine too.
Yeah, they both project out well. If you want to give them an extra few percent, maybe I don't know. They've played against each other already. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I want to see what I thought. Chet went off. I need to check this.
Yeah, that sounds right, but I don't quite remember. I don't know. I played Chet yesterday. I was kind of annoyed that he did bad, but I mean, maybe he wants to step up. Victor is definitely probably going to win Rookie of the Year this year. I don't know what Chet can do to overtake him at this point. Like, even though Wemby's playing the low minutes, he's still outperforming him. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I'd rather go Wemby. No, neither of them went off, apparently. I don't know why I thought that. It's probably because my social media feed was filled with like 10 clips from Bleacher Report, ESPN, all those companies were just highlighting that game a lot. So
I thought that too, though. So it's kind of weird.
That's why, because it was highlighted so much. But let's go ahead and get into a little bit of a first look build here. I don't know. It's like a weird slate because we both agreed on Miles Bridges. I feel like that's an easy starting point because we both agreed on him. From there, is it DeJounte Murray guard? Like, who is your next favorite play on this slate?
Well, for the purpose of the dummy build, I think we should put Sengun in there. He is the best center play. That's why he's the highest owned, but just relative to ownership, we got to find some other guys. And then, I don't know, are we throwing in a Nah?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Do we want to go with Kyle Anderson too, or no?
Let's see if we can do it without Kyle Anderson at least. So the thing with at least he's going to play the minutes. Like, I wasn't sure last time, but with Mike Conley, I mean, he was playing pretty well, so he stayed on the court. But with Kyle Anderson, I mean, we saw Naz Reid kind of lose minutes. I don't know if that's going to happen to Kyle Anderson, but I'd rather just get Na in there, and then if we need Kyle Anderson's value, we can go there.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I will say I want to play Murray. I feel like he's just in a good spot. DraftKings only play. I feel like he's slightly too low owned. But also, I do really like Brandon Miller. So which of those two plays would you rather be on? Brandon Miller at the small forward or Murray in the point guard spot?
I think it's DeJounte.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I think it's DeJounte. And this is a value play I did not think was going to be a thing today, but Monte Morris is showing up. Flat min price on DraftKings coming in for 20% ownership. Cade Cunningham out, maybe I don't know. Has he not played a game yet this season?
Apparently not.
Well,
But he's available to play. We'll be on a minutes restriction though.
I mean, at the flat min price, what do we have in? So any minutes projection we have for a player like Monty Morris is probably just completely guessing because we literally have no idea. Projected for 16 minutes. I don't know. The flat min price guy who's going to be on the court. I mean, I feel like I'd rather play him than Alec Burks. That might sound weird, but if he's really going to come in at no ownership, or I'm sorry, if he's going to come in at basically the same ownership, but the 3K guy, maybe it's just we don't have much value.
Shamit, no one sees Shamit yet, man. That's what's happening.
This is kind of weird. I need to look into Monte Morris a little more. I don't think we're going to be able to find anything though. We have no kind of sample size to make decisions based on.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, they minutes wise, like it hasn't really changed too much. Like Burks has never really gotten a big spike in his minutes with Cade Cunningham out. So like he would have been all season, he would have been the natural one to get more minutes. So that just seems weird. Like, sure, we've seen Knox randomly get some minutes, and maybe that could happen with Monte Morris, but that's just I don't know. I don't like that, but also min price doesn't take much.
I don't think I hate it. I'm not going to clamor to get to him like over I don't think. But that is something to keep in mind. Just mix up your stud if you go and play Monty Morris.
So I know I just said DeJounte Murray, but is Luka the better play if Kyrie's out? Like we're preparing that for Kyrie to be out.
Yeah, I feel like maybe this is bad, but I feel like I have a little lean towards Luka since he's playing Devin Booker tonight, and he loves sticking it to Devin Booker.
Let's do that. No, I think that's fine. I feel like Luka's too cheap as well. It's a good matchup. I agree. It's that we're just strapped for salary. We're probably gonna have to go Kyle Anderson then.
Well, do we want to go with the model like Sadiq Bey on Atlanta if we're not going to play DeJounte like 5,100 at a small forward, power forward position?
I think that's solid. I like Bey. Guard wise, 4.5 or so left over. Don't exactly have to do that. Could be Monte Morris.
Could be Monte Morris. I mean, John Conchar. If Luke Kennard is out, at least the minutes are going to be there.
I don't mind that. What time is that game? 6:30. What time's the other games at? I'm kind of hoping we get that Houston news because maybe like Tate is actually a good play today if a few of those players are out. But
and it's like we talked about this a little bit early in the show, and I'm not really doing anything to make sure that it happens. I'm just going to end up swapping if it does. But if Jaden Hardy ends up starting and Kyrie's out, then he's probably going to be one of the better value plays on the slate just because most people's value slots are going to be locked up from the earlier games. And he's just going to come in lower than he should as if we had that news right now. But it's not guaranteed. So it's kind of risky to kind of bank for that.
Yeah. I'm kind of stumped. I don't know. Like Luka is definitely the best play. He's probably going to go for 65. But with playing him, we're not playing Wemby. We're not playing Cat. We're not playing, any of those other plays. That's the sticky part about tonight's slate.
I mean, I have some kind of gross value plays in here too. Julian Champagny at 3.8. Cody Martin at 4.3, I think is fine. Like Max Strus, I still like at 5.1, even with Karis LeVert back. Like Sam Merrill went off last game, but is that going to happen every day? Probably not. I mean, if we got to get Kyle Anderson, I mean, I think it's fine. Or Dean Wade. Stewart's fine.
Yeah. He's a little bit priced up. Dean Wade, I think actually maybe. I don't know. It's like we could go Morris instead or Dean Wade. Like, it's ugly, obviously, but
yeah, this slate is still gross. I mean, we got a couple pieces of news, but if everyone's going to be on them, it doesn't make too much of a difference, right?
Whatever. We'll just do this real quick just to see, and then I'll put Morris in the guard spot instead. So you do this, you end up on probably Concher. That's fine. We'll go Morris here real quick. 5K instead, and obviously we don't have to play Stewart either. This is it's fine, but I guess this is the issue with today's slate.
Yeah, it's not it's not clear. Some of the other stuff. I mean, can't play Bagley. Caleb Martin is okay, but with Rozier, I'm not sure how that usage is going to play out over there. I don't know. It's like there's a lot of good plays in that 7K range, and we can go balanced if we don't play Luca, but
Yeah.
uh, Luca's still a really good play. I mean, top play on the model today.
Honestly, I'm looking at this like, let's just assume Luka goes for 60, Bridges and Sangoon go for like 40 each as well. Like, I kind of think they do. Like, you're at 140 or so. Then you just need the other guys to pretty much hit value to have a decent day, or obviously exceed value. That's what we're always hoping for. But
Well, even if that situation plays out, we still need one of these other guys to put up like a score that we're not expecting, right? And I think we just got some news. So Luke Kennard ruled out. That should open up Vince Williams a little bit. John Conchar is going to look a little bit better. And then we got something else too. Jay Sean Tate is out and Jalen Green is in. So they're still questionable on Jabari Smith.
Okay. Interesting. So, man, Jabari Smith, I think, is a pretty good play with Tate out and Tari Eason out. Like, that's just such a good spot against Portland.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know if he's a direct pivot off of Sangoon, but it kind of makes sense, right? You know, if everyone's playing Sangoon and maybe Jabari Smith has a blow up game, they could both definitely have big games. But
yeah,
just
I'm just staring at that. I'm staring at that price, 5.9. It's just so cheap there for a guy that could easily. He could easily it's more realistic that he puts up 40 than Isaiah Stewart, for example, or Bay for that matter.
I feel like I want to get to something from Memphis though, with Luke Kennard out. Anson in chat, reminded us that Aldama's out, and so like Conchar, Xavier Tillman, Jaren Jackson. If you want to take some crazy GPP shots on GG Jackson at 4,100 on DraftKings, that seems okay too.
I would say I do like. Yeah. I would say I like Gilliard as a good, like a better play than Morris. Like if we were searching for a value guard play, it'd be him now.
Right. And because we haven't seen, I don't think we've seen Kennard out recently. And so it's just a matter of if they want to run John Conchar out for actual starters minutes or if they're going to split that up a little bit more now and give some to Gilliard. Like we haven't projected for 16. Yeah, you could get 20.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you probably would get that up to 20 now, I would imagine. But they're all fine now. Like we mentioned this at the top of the video. Like they're all decent plays now. They all become a little bit better.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of guys that I want to play today, and even like I'm gonna play a bunch of Knob, but even with him, it's not super clear that that's the direction I want to go. It just for lack of better options, that's what's going to happen.
So I'm just trying to catch up to the chat before we get out of here. So Jaren Jackson seems like a smash play. If the game stays close, that's obviously they're taking another scorer off the court. I mean, who the heck's going to score? Is it just going to be him and Vince Williams? Don't love that. Jabari Smith from Houston playing ? Yeah, we'll see. It seems like it's. Let's see here. Luke Kennard is out. Yes. Let's see here. Is Conley out? Conley is out. We got that confirmed. So Minnesota Valley's pretty decent today as well.
Mike, I'm trying to pull up who gets the boosts on Memphis with everyone out, and I keep having to add players that are not playing today to get it to even show anything accurately. Like David Roddy, we didn't mention David Roddy. Is he? He's pretty popular over on FanDuel. I kind of get it. I was getting a bit of him on DraftKings as well, but it's it's very clearly Jaren Jackson getting the biggest boost with like half of Memphis
usage. Yeah. But that's where, honestly, probably Vince Williams, it's not as high as you would have thought it would be. That was kind of my issue with him on the last slate. At the same time, it almost has to be high tonight as well with Kennard out.
Yeah, and his his role's changed since a few weeks ago. It just maybe he's getting more comfortable just playing in the NBA, or just they're saying, hey, we need you to do this. We need you to be this for us. And so Vince Williams does look good, though, in the mid-range. Like I said, I think I'm going to lean towards going a little bit more balanced tonight. Maybe even if I have like Luka in some lineups, I'm still going to try not to get to the bottom of the barrel value guys.
Yeah. All right. So just real quick, rapid fire. And then I'm going to give a big plug to the Discord because I do think that's going to be worthwhile here once the state updates. But Scottie Pippen Jr. worth a flyer for Memphis. If he pops up in the model to get 10 plus minutes, honestly, it's just one of those situations where, sure, it could blow out, he could get run, but might not be worthwhile. I like to default to the model in those situations because You might end up taking a bad zero there, but if you project to get 13 minutes, maybe could be worthwhile. And then we got Reed or Washington at power forward. I don't. I feel like those are too thin, but what's your kind of thoughts there?
I think it's Reed, but again, he could just completely tank your lineup. But because he's so low owned, I don't mind taking shots on him.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen PJ Washington with Terry Rozier off the court and LaMelo Ball on the court in quite some time, like even dating back to last year. So,
and especially Nick Richards is in today too, so it hurts PJ. And then on that Scottie Pippen Jr. thing, I wouldn't touch that at all. It's still only an 11-point spread.
Yeah. Okay, so last one. Williams a good play at shooting guard.
I think he's fine. It's just I don't know how much confidence the coach has in him. Like he's going to have to handle some ball handling, and he's cheap. He's going to come in low owned. I mean, he's a GPP play off the other guys, but I am going to play more John Conchar, and I'm going to pay up a little bit for Vince Williams.
I think today, and this is kind of my closing thought, is I'm going to have my biggest spread of like lineups. Like there's not going to be a direct theme going on with my lineups today. It's definitely going to be spread out. Maybe a little bit more game stacking than normal, but probably not even still. So.
Yeah, same. Like yesterday, I had like 4 guys at 70% or higher in my exposures. Today, the highest is Nickeil Alexander-Walker at 50. So I'm definitely more spread out than usual today.
But yeah, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. I do want to give just a quick plug to the Discord, though, because this data that you guys are seeing here is going to be updating up until lineup lock and after lineup lock. Today really seems like a crucial day to be getting that information after lineup lock and up until lineup lock. So one of us will be touching on that from Occupy Fantasy in the Discord chat probably right now. Link to that is going to be in the description below.
Thanks, guys.
All right, see you guys.